Happy New Year and welcome to the first Lee Stafford Education live masterclass. And today we've got a very, very special one for you. We've got Lydia Wolfe doing an Avant Garde haircut. I've already had a sneak preview of it and it's looking very, very impressive, Lydia, I must say. Please, guys, as normal, there is no such thing as a silly question. We certainly won't make you feel silly for any questions that you ask. So if you've got any questions to ask Lydia about the look that she's doing, about her business, about her training, anything whatsoever, any questions you've got to ask me, please, guys, just feel free to ask as many questions as you like. You can ask all the questions in the comment section. Please let me know, us know how you're feeling today. Give us an emoji, finger up, finger down, or whatever it is. You know, just let us know that you're there and how you're feeling. But without further ado, I'm going to invite Lydia Wolfe to present her very, very exciting look. So over to you, Lydia.
Hey, everyone. Lovely to see you. Lovely to meet you if it's the first time I have met you, and lovely to see you again if you've seen one of my other masterclasses. My name's Lydia Wolfe and I am a staff for Lee Stafford Education, very proudly. And I also own a hair salon called Jack and the Wolf, which I've recently opened. I am a passionate creative hairdresser, so a lot of people may know or have seen my creative colour work before, but not everyone knows that I have another secret passion, which is creative styling and avant-garde styling. So I really cannot wait to give you a real inspiring masterclass today to show you what happens when you really take the brakes off and go crazy with your creativity. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you for joining us. And today we are going to be creating an avant-garde styling look. So I don't know if everyone even knows what avant-garde means, or you know, you think you know, but don't know the exact definition of it. I know that I didn't really know the definition of avant-garde until recently. I just sort of had an idea for what it meant. So feel free to send a little comment of what you believe that avant-garde means or what it means to you. But just to give you a bit of background, avant-garde comes from a French word, and it sort of roughly translates to ahead of the crowd or before the crowd. So when you kind of talk about that in terms of fashion and in terms of hairdressing, what we mean is the future. So this is like the future trends, future fashion. This is not something that you're going to see in the salon. This is not something you're going to see on the high street or on celebrities. Avant-garde hairdressing is what we see in photo shoots, in competitions, in music videos, on theatre, weeks for theatres and for television shows like Bridgerton, where they had those amazing, crazy hairstyles and wigs. And also drag queens, you know, if you're a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, like I am, then you'll see they have like these incredible, crazy, bigger the better, wild wigs. So when we're working with avant-garde hair, we're usually working with wigs, hair pieces, and it is all about the bigger, the better, and no rules, total creativity. So I really wanted to show you what our kind of starting canvas was for this, because I think it will give you like a clearer idea of where we're heading with this, but also to show you the total transformation. So I've done a little bit of prep work on the block that we're going to be using, but I really wanted to show you, you know, the canvas, what we're starting with. So to do a competition look or a creative look, you don't necessarily have to have a model with amazing, thick, long hair. You can use anyone. So you can see this block, which is quite short, quite thin, just a bit straggly. That's not a problem because we're going to be using hair pieces to add volume and length where we need to. And I will be referencing a lot in this look to one of the level 2 recipes, which is the spiral rose tongue from LSE. So give us a little comment if you've tried spiral rose tongue or if you've watched the video before. I thought that this technique would lend itself really well to avant-garde styling. So I'll talk you through a little bit so that I can show you where we've started the sectioning. So I'm going to be using the spiral rose tongue sectioning to start with, which means that we do a parting from the front to centre back. Then we do halo sections, 3 centimetres deep, and then to the occipital bone, and then another halo section back from that. And this is how it's going to look. So I've done a little head start with my preparation for this. And the reason being, because we are going to be creating an avant-garde masterpiece in an hour. So no pressure, but we can do this. So this is what I've done so far. You can see the first halo section I've bumped out of the way. And I haven't curled it, I haven't touched it, I've just bumped it out of the way. So that's my first halo section up to the occipital bone. And then my second halo section, I have gone ahead and I have spiral tongued it already, apart from one little section, which I'll show you. And then my last section, or my third and fourth sections, I've put into a high ponytail, so I won't be touching that either. And I've also kind of gone ahead and I've done a little bit of our rose budding in the back just to give me, like I say, a head start.
Laura's asked a question. She said, how did your first experience go? I don't quite know what that means. Maybe Laura means, how did your first experience of avant-garde go?
Oh, so my first experience of avant-garde was when I did my level 2 hairdressing competition at college. And it went not how I planned it to look, but I still didn't have all the tools or the knowledge to create a really ambitious hair look. I wanted to create something that I'd seen in a magazine, which was these giant horns made out of hair. And I managed to do it. I made it out of chicken wire and I made these horns and I wrapped this girl's hair, which took ages to brush out, but it looked great. And I managed to create what I had in mind, but I didn't really have the tools or the knowledge to make it look amazing. What I probably should have done is use techniques that I was confident in to create a look that I wanted to. So that was my learn from that.
Yeah. But I suppose you've got to start somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've still got the photos. I'm really proud of it.
So how comes you became so passionate in the avant-garde? Because I would imagine that it's not something you can do in the salon very often on customers.
No. Great question. I started putting myself forward for competitions, and that opened up a whole world of out of salon hairdressing. You know, I could practice on models and experiment on mannequin heads and do things that I couldn't do day to day on customers. And so I entered industry competitions that give you the opportunity to be really creative with color, really creative with styling. And then that kind of opened up this whole other world. I've had opportunities to assist at London Fashion Week, where the designers, you know, they've got these incredible couture outfits, and you have to, as a hair team, you have to create 50 crazy hairstyles that go with these amazing outfits. And so I learned a lot about Avant Garde from working backstage at Fashion Week as well, and watching these other masterful hairdressers, you know, being really, really creative. So now I'm going to put in my first, hi everyone. Now I'm going to put in my first hairpiece. I'm going to add the first additional hairpiece, which is a clip-in ponytail. And I have already spiral tongued it to match in with what I've done everywhere else. And I used a really thin wand. I don't know if you saw, but I used a really thin wand for this look so we can create really small spirals. And I'm going to clip it on, and forgive me if this is a little bit messy, but we need it to be really secure. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit messy because all of this is going to be hidden. So I've clipped on my ponytail, and then I'm just going to get loads and loads of curvy grips to secure it as much as I possibly can. And with a lot of avant-garde styling and competition styling that you see, there's sort of two really cool things that people do. And one is to use the hair to make like unconventional textures, you know, using hair to look like something that isn't hair. So, you know, when I was at college, I did the horns, and sometimes people use hair to look more like material or like a carpet or feather textures, which is really cool because obviously the spiral rose tongue recipe, you're using the hair to create something that looks kind of like a flower and this amazing texture that's almost fluffy or cloudy. The other thing that you see a lot in avant-garde hairdressing is using unconventional objects or textures to look like hair. So sometimes people use things like safety pins to make wigs, and then all these safety pins all clipped together can move around and give the impression and movement of hair. I've seen people use feathers to look like hair and material to look like hair, and I've also seen people use plasticine before, or, you know, like Play-Doh, and made strands of hair and wigs out of Play-Doh. So this is all the kind, you see how creative and crazy you can go with.
And tell me this, what has it given you? What has this avant-garde work and this competition work, what has it given your career, Lydia?
It's been an incredible journey and a total whirlwind. But from entering competitions and being successful in competitions, I've been in magazines. I've had my name in every hairdressing magazine. I've had brands and product companies approach me and give me products to try and want to work with me. I mean, I've had opportunities to network and work with people, idols of mine in the industry, you know, like yourself, Mr. Stafford. Yeah, so it was just a launch pad for me to have my name in the industry. But not only that, the confidence that it gave me to go from being, you know, quite a quiet and underconfident stylist who kind of was doing their day-to-day work in a salon to actually thinking, oh, I'm all right at this, you know, and putting myself forward and putting myself out there for as many opportunities as I could.
And has it been good for your day-to-day salon business as well?
Oh, amazing. Because even though I opened my salon sort of more recently, being able to have on my website, you know, that I'm an international award-winning hairdresser brings people to your door. And it makes you busy. It makes you a busy stylist.
And does it bring other hairdressers to work for you as well?
It does. It really does. So now I'm going to use this, which is a donut. and I'm going to stack it on top of the ponytail that we created. I've taken my clip-in ponytail and I've just pulled out a little row of spirals, and now I'm going to put this donut over the top of our clip-in ponytail and the ponytail that we sectioned out underneath.
So you haven't brushed that hair out yet?
No, not yet. And then secure that in with a few more pins. So yeah, you know, because I'm really passionate about competitions and photo shoots and creative work, I've been able to attract a team to work with me that are also really passionate about those things, and now they're going forward and entering for competitions and doing their own photo work, and assisting on fashion weeks and all of that sort of thing. So I'm surrounded by people who are also really creative.
And I suppose when you're doing an avant-garde piece of work that's looking very futuristic, you can tame it down to look much more commercial, can't you?
Absolutely. Yes, completely. And, you know, this is kind of how fashion works, really. Start by looking on the runways, don't you, when you see all of these couture fashion shows and you think, oh my God, you'd never wear that in a million years. And lo and behold, you know, as time goes on, it gets watered down, and then it's all over the high street. We're wearing versions of these really crazy couture outfits and crazy couture hairstyles. And then all it takes is a celebrity to wear a version of it that's maybe more tamed down and more commercial. And that's kind of how we end up getting filtered down these versions of the future.
And tell me this, Lydia, is it expensive to enter these competitions?
Yes. So, lovely. So I'm just going to put on a second donut ring. Now I've pulled out some more spirals from my ponytail. I'm just going to put over a second donut ring and secure that in. So it can be, but you can also be incredibly clever about it. So there are some competitions where you will be up against people who are using professional models who can be expensive to hire. You using, you know, professional fashion stylists and hair pieces and things that all cost a lot of money. But you can also be incredibly thrifty by being creative on a budget, doing your own fashion styling, or using a student from a local university who knows how to do makeup or knows how to do fashion styling, but hasn't, you know, just wants some more experience, just like you want some more experience.
Yeah.
You can use an unprofessional model. You know, if you see someone in the street and they look incredible, you need to have that confidence to walk up to them and say, I'm a training hairdresser and I just think you look like you'd be an amazing model. I've done it before in the changing rooms of Zara. When I was shopping one time, there was this guy in the changing rooms and he just looked like a model. And I said, have you ever done any hair modeling before? And he ended up being my model for a competition called L'Oreal Colour Trophy. So sometimes when you see these people, you just had to be confident and chase them down the road and be like, have you ever thought about modeling? And sometimes, you know, they say no, and then you never see each other again, and that's fine. But a lot of the time they take it as a real compliment. So, you know, it opens up a conversation. And
do you work on a sort of elevator pitch when you do that, or do you just take it as it comes?
What was that, sorry?
Well, like when you're, have you got like an elevator pitch to go up to people and talk to them about being a model? Or
yes. Oh, totally. Yeah. You kind of have to sell yourself a little bit because, you know, you could be anybody, couldn't you? Yeah. But I think if you go there with a lot of confidence and act like it's a conversation that you have all the time, then people are like, oh, you know, they've told me that I look like a model. and then they can look at you on Instagram, and you know, that's normally what I do. I say, here's my Instagram, have a look at my work and send me a message if you're interested. And that's kind of how the conversation starts.
But tell me this, Lydia, because, you know, back in the day, it was all about finding fantastic models, right? I mean, fantastic, classic, sort of good-looking models.
Yes.
But there's been a big shift now, isn't there? I mean, it seems like, you know, there's all different walks of life are now modeling. What advice would you give to young people about their model choice when entering a competition?
I think that one of the big things is looking for somebody who has just like a vibe about them, a confidence that, you know, you kind of see people sometimes that are just really cool, and they just, you just want to be their friend, you know, because they dress amazing, they've got an amazing confidence about them, and they're the kind of people that you're drawn to as models because they've already got a look, and usually they've got creative hair and they're up for having some kind of crazy style. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a vibe, a bit of a like the confidence to have their hair really crazy. I mean, here's a good tip. For instance, you know, if you find someone who's absolutely stunningly beautiful and you think, wow, and their hair is clearly virgin, all one color and down to their hips, it's very unlikely that they're going to be the kind of model that would let you do a rainbow colored pixie with disconnected mullet bits on it. You kind of want to go for people who are that kind of trendy, away from the crowd kind of person who likes to rebel with their fashion sense, because they're the kind of people who you'd cut all their hair off into a rainbow pixie haircut and they'd rock it every day. They wouldn't have it colored back to normal. They'd just be like, yeah, it's my new hair now. So they're the kind of people that I look for. They've got a vibe and an attitude and a confidence with their own personal style.
Yeah. So talk me through the what you're doing now, Lydia. Tell us how you're doing that so well.
So with my spirals,
yeah,
I'm picking them individually now, and I'm creating our rosebuds. So taking each spiral, twisting it anti-clockwise, and then pushing it up towards the root in to these kind of cloudy rosebuds. And I'm starting with the bottom section. So I'm starting with the first section that we curled. And I'm going to work my way up the tower that I've created.
Amber says, what's your favourite kind of avant-garde hairstyle?
Oh, great question. Well, I do love working with wigs. Wigs are really fun because you can choose a model who doesn't need to have their hair coloured or changed. You can choose, you can have any model you want. So you can go really, really out there with the hair, and then it all just gets taken off at the end of the shoot or at the end of the show. So yeah, I really enjoy working with wigs.
And also, Ellie is asking a question here. I know we might have sort of answered this already. I don't know whether Ellie's just joined us, but Ellie said, what inspired you to do avant-garde?
I think that when I first kind of entered the world of hairdressing, I really wanted to work on working kind of fashion and on television shows and that sort of thing. So I was always most inspired by the styles on costume drama TV shows and the you know, amazing hairstyles, the more kind of out there, the better. And I'm quite out there with my own personal style. So I've always been kind of trying to push the boundaries, especially, you know, when I was younger. I've always loved to kind of go against the crowd and push the boundaries as much as possible. And then when I discovered, you know, there's this whole world of that within hairdressing, you know, I haven't even completely tapped into the world of avant garde, you know, as much as I would love to. There's still so much to learn, but the idea that the creativity is just unstoppable really appeals to me.
So this leads it on very nicely to Tracy's question. She said, what do you enjoy more, doing sort of like the creative avant-garde or your normal daily hairstyles in the salon?
So customers ask me this a lot, clients ask me a lot, and it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I love both equally, because I don't think that I would love one as much if I was doing it all the time. If I was just doing salon work every day, I probably wouldn't appreciate those times when I can work on shoots and go really creative. But equally, if I was being creative every day for a living and working on shoots every day for a living, I probably wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't love it as much, because I love having those opportunities to just do a really beautiful brunette or
a bit like if you had Christmas every day, isn't it?
Exactly.
Bon says, do you prepare a mood board when you create the avant-garde styles? Good question, Bon. Would you give advice to students for the importance of prepping the mood board?
Yes. I love the mood boarding process because of that kind of creativity, and it's a really important process as well, because you very rarely, when you're doing shoots and shows, you very, very rarely work on your own. You're usually part of a team. So you need to communicate your ideas with other people on the team. So mood boarding is really, really good for making sure everyone's on the same page in terms of the styling and the inspiration and where it comes from and the story that you're trying to tell. But also it's really, really good for actually directing your ideas and finding what's going to work and what looks good together, and whether you've got too many ideas at once. So when you put them all on paper, either, you know, sometimes I do them digitally on my computer, sometimes I do them on paper. And you can go, actually, you know what, those colours and those colours don't look very nice together. So I'm going to scrap that and I'm going to use that for a different idea at a different time. But, you know, digital mood boarding is really good. I love working on paper. But now we've got Pinterest and Instagram and all of these things. It's so much easier to transfer it over on like a Word document or pages or on your computer. And I find that you can work really quickly. So that's kind of what I tend to do these days. I do it more on my computer or on my phone.
Gotcha. And how did you get involved in doing the fashion shows, Lydia? How did that come about?
Do you know, it's quite, the first time I ever had a fashion week opportunity was actually in mistaken identity. I put my CV forward for an assistant job for something that was way out of my depth when I was still training, more or less, and my CV got passed on to a fashion week agency, and they booked me for a job assisting on fashion week way before I had the experience or the knowledge to be doing it.
And how old was you, Lydia?
Probably, I mean, I think I was maybe 22, 23. And, you know, I was only 5 years into my hairdressing then, and I hadn't done any kind of session or avant-garde styling work at all. I'd just done salon work, so I was not prepared for it at all. But it's quite a dog-eat-dog world, fashion week. So you literally get hired and dropped constantly. You know, you might get hired for a job in the morning, and then you get there and they're like, we don't need you anymore, and you've gone all the way to London. So that's what happened to me. I was up at 6 a.m, ready to get on my train, and I got an email saying you're no longer required. So that was probably a good one, because I wasn't ready at that point. And then all these years later, you know, through competition work and working with brands, I have had the opportunity to be put forward as part of teams for KMS, who are the product company that I work with, that we use in the salon, and they sponsor some of the shows. So they put forward names of people who are artists who they know like creative work because they've went to competitions, and kind of getting your name out there that way.
And who leads those teams for, like, the ones that KMS sponsor, for example?
So you always have a lead stylist, and they will be someone who pretty much does session styling for a living. So that will be their main job. And then you're just there to be a dog's body, really. And the first one I ever assisted on was somebody called Brendan O'Sullivan, who is amazing session stylist. And yeah, there's kind of a group of lead stylists that tend to get these jobs, and then you just have to put yourself forward either with an agency. If you're really passionate about it, you contact the agencies that these guys work for, and you say, like, if you ever need any assistance, please let me know. If you ever need any assistance, please let me know. And then once you're in there and you've met these stylists, these lead stylists, and you've done a really good job and they like you, then they will call you back and they'll ask you back again.
So Paula has asked, what advice would you give to someone that's frightened of hair up? Because I would imagine if you're going to do these avant-garde styles or do fashion week, you need to be able to put hair up, right?
Yes, you do. But I will tell you something, because it's creative, you can do anything. You can literally do anything. It doesn't have to be a hair up style. And also you can break the rules and bend the rules. So when you're doing, fashion weeks and stuff like that, you do need to know all your traditional hair up techniques. And I had to kind of go back and retrain myself in all of the basics of hair up and that sort of thing, to make sure that I was prepared to work at that kind of high level. But when you're creating stuff for competitions, just use your strong points and do what you're good at. If you're great at doing, hair cutting and backcombing and tonging, for instance, then focus on those sorts of things. But if hair up is your strong suit, then obviously you could go down the hair up route. Avant-garde can be anything. It doesn't have to be hair up. Yeah.
So if someone was frightened of doing hair up, but they wanted to learn it, what advice would you give to them?
I would say go back to your basics first and get yourself really, really good and comfortable with creating an amazing curl, an amazing ponytail, using all the Lee Stafford techniques. They break it right down on how to just get the basics perfect, because that's all that hair up is. It's a combination of a lot of different basics, and then you can kind of be more creative with it, going into like bridal styling and prom styling and stuff like that, by taking these very basic techniques and elevating them to meet kind of current fashions.
So really just keep it simple to begin with.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I had to do. I mean, hair up definitely wasn't my strong suit for a long time.
You had a passion for it though, Lydia.
Yes, I did. I wanted to be good at it.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. A lot of things, hairdressing's scary when you start, isn't it? You have to just push yourself into doing things that are quite scary. Yeah. And some things will feel more comfortable at the beginning, and then some, I used to be much more comfortable cutting than colouring. That was what scared me the most. Yeah. But now I'm a colour specialist and not a cutting specialist. So things become more comfortable as you keep practicing and trying.
Absolutely. And I suppose doing it on mannequin heads, got to take the fear out of it, right?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
it really does. And they are an amazing tool. And I know that sometimes, you know, it can be expensive when you're a student and you're training and you've cut one and then you need to buy another and stuff. But I think it's a really good thing to have kind of one long hair mannequin that you can keep practicing all of your styling on, and then have one that you can kind of take shorter and shorter with colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now I've got some clip-in hair wefts because I need to add a bit of length to this bottom. I've let down our bumps for the bottom. I've kind of done this stack. Look how that is looking.
That's looking great already. I love it.
I like to think it looks a little bit like a kind of Renaissance Marie Antoinette sort of.
It does. 18th century kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah. So now with this bit underneath that we've just let down, I have some clip-in hair wefts that match the same colour. And I've done a little bit of twisted tongue on them just to give them a bit of texture. And this one with 3 clips, I'm just going to put at the centre back. And it's good that I've done all of the curling and everything beforehand, because it gives me a little bit of something for it to hold on to, but also I can hide the clips.
Amber says, what kind of hair texture do you need for Avant Garde hairstyles?
Literally anything. Avant Garde is anything you want it to be. You know, you could put loads of gluey hair gel on someone and do a completely wet look. You could you could work with afro hair texture or with very coily hair texture. You could work with completely straight and then add texture with tonging and things. You know, you can add hair pieces, and like I said, you can work with unconventional things. When I did Fashion Week in October, we did this really, really cool show with some designers called Vin and Omi, and they're very out there. They're known for their shows being really kind of wacky and wild, and the models sort of dance down the runway like crazy people, and it's really, really cool. But it just means the hair is to match. You know, they say go crazy with the hair, and the crazier and the bigger the better. So the lead stylist was getting out bits of fruit packaging and fishnets, and we were like bunching it all up and just shoving it in the hair to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. So it can be anything really, and then turning the hair into something that's not really hair anymore, making it into a new texture so that you can work with it to make different shapes and styles. And then I've got these 2 little wefts that I'm going to put into the front. And, you know, if you've got a model with really straight, sleek hair, it doesn't really matter if you're going to be creating a curly look, because a lot of the time it's additional hair or wigs or hair pieces that you're using anyway.
So Lydia, we have to talk about the F.A.M.E team.
Yes.
Would you just tell everybody what the F.A.M.E team is?
So, if you don't already know, the Fellowship of British Hairdressing is, I don't really know how to describe what the Fellowship of British Hairdressing is a fellowship that's been kind of the core of our industry for many, many years, for 75 years this year. And it is a kind of body that helps to keep the industry kind of current and professional, but also they offer mentoring opportunities for future talent, and are always kind of pushing the industry forward. And they have a mentorship program called F.A.M.E Team, which stands for the Fellowship Academy of Merit and Excellence. And basically 4 young hairdressers are selected every year to be on the F.A.M.E team, which is like an artistic team. and you get a year's worth of like money can't buy hairdressing education with the best of the best inspiring hairdressers in the industry at the time. So the auditioning process to be on F.A.M.E team is really kind of grueling. It's hard to get onto. But yeah, they select out of all the people that enter, they select 4 every year. And
some of the most famous hairdressers in this country have been on the F.A.M.E team, haven't they?
Yeah, so many people who are now the mentors of F.A.M.E team, who are the best in the industry, have been on F.A.M.E team over the years. So some of the biggest names have kind of come from F.A.M.E team and come from that world.
And tell me this: how do you get nominated for the F.A.M.E team? You have to enter yourself. Now, the F.A.M.E team, the thing is, the Fellowship of British Hairdressing, it's kind of like a charity, isn't it? It's like it's kind of like a charity, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and literally all the top hairdressers in this country are members of the F.A.M.E team, aren't they? And they all give their time for free to nurture the next generation of talent, don't they?
Exactly, yes. Yeah, anyone who's anyone kind of really gets involved in the fellowship to try and push the industry forwards and bring new talent into the industry and kind of propel them to where they started.
So how many times have you entered, Lydia?
So this was my first time entering this year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing because a lot of people who enter for F.A.M.E team, I mean, especially last year's F.A.M.E team, I think one of them had entered 6 or 7 times before finally getting on. It doesn't matter how amazing you think someone is, like, it is hard to get on, really, really hard.
It'll be under 30, is that right?
You have to be under 35 actually now. So they've opened it up, which is fantastic because obviously not everyone joins the industry at 16. So it's kind of made it a little bit more accessible to people who join the industry slightly later.
And how do they select the 4 young people that are going to be this year's F.A.M.E team members? It's
an auditioning process. There is a audition tape that you have to send. And then there is that from that they select 16 people that go through to the semi-finals. So just sorry to change subject really quickly. Yeah. This bit underneath, I'm going to section out some nice pieces around the face, and now we put the extensions in, I'm going to pull this all back into a nice neat ponytail. But yes, so back to the audition process. Yes, you send an audition tape with your pictures of your work and then a video of yourself, why you think that you would be a valuable member of F.A.M.E team and what you would contribute to the team. And from that, they select 16 people who have to go to the live semi-finals. And that is in London. And you have to do 2 models live in front of judges and have an audition in a room on your own. You get taken and they all sit on like a panel.
Who are the judges, Lydia?
So the judges change every year, but it's about 10 of kind of the most important people in the industry.
So who was on it for your 10?
At the time. So we had Sally Brooks, who is 3 times British Hairdresser of the Year. Yeah. Junior Green, who is a really amazing and famous hairstylist who kind of specializes in Afro textured hair, which was one of the rounds that we had to do. So that was kind of his expertise. Michelle Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Who is a, Hall of Fame British hairdresser. Ken Picton, who is the president of Fellowship at the moment.
An esteemed body, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Incredible people. And Lydia got chosen as one of the 4. Congratulations, Lydia.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was my first time entering, but it's like my lifelong dream. I've wanted to do it forever, but for whatever reason, I haven't put myself forward for it until now. So I kind of had to go on a bit of a journey first to get to the point of even entering. But it is literally, I cannot describe to you, it's my dream come true. So,
I mean, that's got to do wonders for your credibility in the industry and your exposure, right?
Yeah, it is amazing because the people, you know, that come and compliment you and say congratulations and stuff are, it's just incredible that they even know my name. You know, I've just totally blown away by the whole thing.
It's a real achievement to get onto the F.A.M.E team. It really is, and it's only going to catapult you as far as your abilities and, you know, your, like I say, your awareness in the industry. I mean, only good things are going to come from it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing platform, you know, to springboard your name into the industry, but it's also, most importantly, the best of the best teaching that you can receive. So
it's amazing. Congratulations, Lydia. I'm just going to do a little quick competition for any of our students out there to win a goodie box of Lee Stafford products. And the question I've got for you, I had a salon in Leigh-on-Sea called The House That Hair Built. What was the square footage of that salon? What was the square footage of that salon? How big was it in square feet? So the nearest person to the correct size of the salon, I will send a goodie box to. So we've got a question here from Laura. She says, what was the most craziest Avant Garde hairstyle you have ever done?
Do you know what? When I helped assist on the F.A.M.E show in October.
What was that? What show?
So the F.A.M.E is the designers and at London Fashion Week, and we were, you know, we had so many models to work on. I think there were 30 models. No, I think there were 50 models, 50 models.
And how many hairdressers was there?
About 30 hairdressers, 50 models. So they're massive team. Like, there were just so many people there. But it's frustrating. You get told what to do and then you're told it's not good enough, and then you have to redo it, and you have to have really thick skin. But I'd done this girl's hair really, really beautiful, and then she went on stage for the rehearsal, and the designers went, it's too boring, it's too normal, send her back, we've got to do something crazy. So together with the lead assistant who works with the lead stylist, we were going through this table full of leftover junk to make hair with, and she went, right, we've got these wigs, these horrible wigs, what are we going to do? And we turned the wigs inside out, covered them in gel, so they just were dripping in hair gel, and put it on this girl's forehead, which was just gross and disgusting and wet and horrible. And then we stuck loads and loads of really fluffy hair pieces on top of it. So it was like this gel down, inside out wig with multicolored hair pieces on top. And it looked incredible. And she was on the front page of like the newspaper article. She was on one of the main pages of the newspaper articles that was covering the show and stuff. So this like crazy last minute thing that we'd made.
And this wasn't planned. You did this off the cuff.
Yes, you have to adapt sometimes, and just, this is how creative you can be, because there's no rules. No one knows what they're expecting with Avant Garde. They don't know what it's supposed to look like because nobody's ever seen it before. So you can go.
So Lydia, you're obviously a very successful stylist that's rising, moving and shaking. How long did it take you before the penny started to drop for you? And you started to think, I'm getting this? Because there's a lot of students out there that are at college at the moment, probably struggling with a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
What was your story?
I was a full-time hairdressing student. I didn't do an apprenticeship. And that kind of both worked really well for me and also didn't necessarily work that well for me in other ways, because I was kind of underprepared to go into the industry because I had no industry experience. But I'm really lucky that I found a salon that would take me with my lack of experience and kind of guide me and train me some more. But I mean this not as to be disencouraging. I mean this to be encouraging. I think it took me a full 4 years from when I started training to feel like it was clicking. And then probably 2 years after that, I started to feel like I could be any kind of hairdresser I wanted to be, and to be the hairdresser that I am today and the journey that I'm on today. I think I was 6 years from starting is when I was like, I can do anything. I'm not just gonna stand here and wait for things to come to me. I'm gonna go for it. But it was a whole 4 years. So the 2 years that I did my level 2, the year I did my level 3, and a year after that of kind of being on the salon floor and sadly learning from some mistakes and having lots of tears and telling myself I wasn't good enough, to kind of go, wow, okay, if any client came through that door today, I would know what to do without having to check with somebody.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to give up, Lydia?
Yes, 1,000,000,000,000,000%. I felt like I couldn't carry on at one point. I really thought I would never get it. And it's just so untrue. You so have to stick with it through that horrible moment, because it is scary. And hairdressers we really have to be at school for a long time to do our craft. We study for the same amount of time as lawyers and doctors and pharmacists and stuff, and yet I don't think people give us as much credit as it's worth for how much training goes into being a hairdresser. So don't worry if you're not feeling like it's clicking while you're still at college, because it didn't click for me until after.
Yeah.
So just quickly, I've kind of been chatting away like I normally do, and I haven't been talking through my look with you guys. I'm sorry about that. So what I've done is I've used something called bungee tape. It's a really cool hair accessory that sticks to itself and not the hair. And so you can create these amazing kind of shapes and ponytails with it. And it looks like sellotape. It looks like actual tape. But obviously, if I put real tape on this model's hair, then it'll be stuck in there forever. So this is specially designed for hair. It's called bungee tape. And now, do you see we've got this kind of poof on the end from where we did the twisted tongue. And I'm just using hairspray to kind of floof it out. And now I'm going to use my fingers to pull out my shape and use some additional grips to kind of adjust the shape where I want to. And then to match the bottom, I'm going to fluff out our pieces around the face. And then last but not least, I did say about using things that aren't hair. So using hair to create textures that don't look like hair, but using things that aren't hair to create textures that look like hair. Does that make any sense? So I have got some leftover packaging, some packing tissue. And I thought, oh, this looks kind of like blonde hair. So I've kept it because I thought I'm going to use this one day. And I've bunched it together, scrunched it together into like a little ball. And I'm going to use a clip now to attach it at the front and create a sort of crown or a hairband. See, so it's really as simple as that. You know, you can go crazy and creative, and as long as you've got a million trillion Kirby grips, you can do anything you want.
And I suppose that could be anything that you're...
It could be anything. You know, the challenge and the fun of it is to try something that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
So does anybody feel after today like inspired to enter competitions yourself?
I hope so, because we've got the Lee Stafford education competition coming up this year. It's going to be a online photo shoot or photo competition, should I say. So we'll be letting everybody know when and where that's happening. Unfortunately, we're not going to have a competition in London this year because of the dreaded COVID, but we will be having an online competition. So I hope that Lydia has inspired you all today to give it a real good go.
You know, if you don't try, you never know whether it's for you. So
Exactly. Like you said, Lydia, I mean, any competitions, you know, we're such a fan of it, at least Stafford Education, because there's no doubt about it. Preparing for that competition is going to it's going to really help your hairdressing skills. It's gonna get them coals burning, them creative coals burning. And what's happened with you, Lydia? You start doing well in competitions, and things happen in your life, don't they? You know,
exactly.
it's
you know,
all
I always used to. I always used to read about people winning competitions in magazines, and I always used to think that was something that happened to other people, not to me. And then I found out that actually I am that other person. I am one of those other people, and you don't know if that's going to be you until you try it. So.
And where did you start, Lydia? Did you start in like a big city, or was you in a small town?
I started hairdressing in a city. So I started in Portsmouth, and I worked at a really cool hair salon, you know, that kind of, I guess, was one of those salons that does encourage creativity. But other people that I have been on this journey with, and other people, you know, someone that I'm actually in F.A.M.E team as well, they're just from village salons.
Yeah.
You know, they're just from normal village salons, and they were like, I didn't even know what F.A.M.E team was until I read about it in the magazine. You know, it can happen to anyone, and that is the great thing. The playing ground is even. You know, you don't have to be from what we call like hairdressing pedigree anymore. You can be anyone.
Especially not with online, right?
Exactly. With Instagram and freelancing and, you know, all these mobile and home hairdressers actually becoming big names in the hairdressing industry now. You know, it's a different world.
It really is. That looks amazing.
She's finished.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. Looks very different. Looks very avant garde. Looks very stylish, Lydia.
So like you said, you know, you can tame this down or amp it up as much as you like, really. You know, there's elements of this that are really quite commercial and wearable. And there's elements of this that you could make even bigger. You know, we could use more hair pieces, we could go higher, we could have more things going on here, we could use colored hair as well. You know, we could use spray in hair color to kind of add another level, or even instead of blonde, you know, we could use all sorts of different colors. So you could go bigger and crazier, but also you could tame this right down and make it more wearable.
Looks really great. What does everyone think of Lydia's Avant Garde style using the rose tone? Looks really good, Lydia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing a wonderful style with us, a lovely mashup from the LSC recipe. Just to let you guys know, my salon, the house that hair built, was 4,100 square feet. So the winner of the goodie box today is Ellie Miller with 2,500. You was the nearest to that. So if you could get your trainer to send me a little bit of an email and let me know where I need to send that goodie box, that will be in the post to you very, very soon. So thank you, Lydia. This was our first live masterclass of the year, and you really have set the bar high. So thank you very much for that. Thank you all for watching. Happy New Year to you all again. Have a fantastic week. Look out for the Lee Stafford Education Competition and enter. Please enter. I'd love to see your work. And we will see you all next week. So thank you very much, Lydia.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. See you soon. Bye.